Well, hello. I'm Jeff Gould. Welcome to the live program. Each and every week, we get more and more people on board. By the way, apologies for last Monday. The system crashed. Don't know exactly what happened. We did record something and laid it out, but nothing live. And hopefully, we fixed all the glitches, even though we have no idea how it happened in the first place. Anyway, this is what we know. We know that YouTube is becoming the most watched television program more than regular TV. We know that people are tired of fakery. How many videos have you seen? And the narrator just keeps chattering on and on. You go, this is 100% fake. This is an AI generated stream. Yes, we do none of that. This is a show that's approximately an hour long, and it's just two regular guys talking about interesting things with interesting people. That's why the show exists. We cut it into tiny pieces and spread it out on the social media. That might be how you heard about the program, but we cut it into chapters, and let's go right now to chapter number 1, the soapbox. Booker, pull up the graphic. Hey, there we go. There's the graphic. That's me on a soapbox. And I want to talk to you now about something I'm really passionate about. It's the 250th birthday of this country. And what are we doing? How come we aren't talking about it more? I happened to be around during the 200th birthday of the country. It was a huge deal. And I think that 250 years is every bit as important, maybe more important than 200. Why aren't we talking about the most remarkable story in the history of human governments? I didn't say perfect. I said most remarkable. It has changed so much in how business is done between nations and how democracy has spread to all corners of the planet. And it is just really worth talking about. If you were a parent of a child, you wouldn't say, and you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, and you did this wrong. It would be verbal abuse. It would be demoralizing. As a parent, as a teacher, as a coach, what you do instead is you say, well, you did 3 things right, and now let's talk about what you could work on. Well, America is the same way. Only we are harping on all the things we don't do right and spending very little time talking about the things that we do remarkably well. As an American, you have a certain inherited traits that are unique to this country and this story. When we add all of these traits together, this is what makes an American an American. And I want to talk about the first one today. Fairness. You inherited fairness from an 11-year-old boy who got some bad news from his mother. His dad had just died. And not only does he have to deal with the sorrow of losing his dad, he now has the economic repercussions because all the money is going to go to his older half brother. That means he can't go to school because school back then cost money. That doesn't sound fair. Well, it gets worse. Now he's trying to figure out what he can do with his life. He lives in the middle of nowhere, so his opportunities are slim. He asks his mom if maybe he can join the Navy. Back then, they would let you do that when you were 10. She said, no. So what opportunity does he have? He has one break. His brother marries into a wealthy family, and the guy who owns all this land doesn't know what he owns, so he's looking for surveyors. And this guy gets the job when he's 15. He's tall for his age, big, strong kid, quiet. But, well, it's how he dresses. It's how he talks. He's, to be honest, a hick. He's a rube. They had these words for people back then, slang terms. If somebody was really into their clothing and wardrobe, they would call them a dandy. And the really best clothes came from Italy. You had really good Italian fashion. They called that macaroni. Now, if you were so stupid that you would actually think that you could take a bird feather and stick it in your hat and become high fashion, you were a Yankee Doodle, which was a hick, a Yankee Doodle dandy, which was a double hick, a double insult. And they made up a song about it. Maybe you've heard about it. And they would sing it in front of the locals and then make fun of them because they were hicks. They were stupid. They were idiots. And it wasn't fair. Well, he married a wealthy widow, and he was 27, got into farming. That should have been better. But then again, the unfairness. He had only one place he could sell his produce, and that place would dictate not only what the price was, but the quality of the product, and then inform him after the fact. Yeah, there was some spoilage. Sorry about that. And we sold it at the bottom of the market. Sorry about that. And I know that you wanted to exchange your goods for some fine things, but all we have is this mediocre stuff, which is all you can have. But after all, you are a Yankee Doodle. It's good enough for you. Now, in the course of history, many people have suffered far harder, far more than that. But it was the unfairness, I think, that really got to him. So he decided to do something about it. Have you figured out that I'm talking about George Washington? Talk about unfair. He had no real military training, and he led a disorganized, ill-provisioned rabble of locals against the most powerful military in the world. How could he expect to win? But he did two things that were quite extraordinary. The first was, he did win. Yeah, you know that. It's no surprise to you, but it was astonishing to everybody else. How did they do it? And as astonishing as that was, it wasn't the most astonishing thing he did, because throughout history, whenever somebody goes up against the big guys and wins, they become the big guy. When the old king is tossed over, they become the new king. And George Washington saw that, and he didn't think that was fair. He knew about what was called the cycle of tyranny, that if a tyrant is overthrown, eventually the new guy, whether it's sooner or later, somebody in that lineage, they become a tyrant. And so the cycle of tyranny continues. He didn't think that was fair either. And so there was this concept just being kicked around by dreamers. These founding fathers said, well, maybe we could have this form of democracy that they used to talk about in ancient Rome and Greece, and some of the native tribes in North America were talking about. Maybe we could do that. And he said, yeah, that sounds fair, or at least more fair. And so he is the father of the country. Without George Washington, we wouldn't have that. You get a guy like that about every 1,000 years who goes against the history of just taking what you can. And he's one of those rare individuals who gives that back to the people. And was it fair back then? Well, not as fair as it was going to be, because the thing about fairness that's interesting to me is once we get a taste of it, we want more of it. And our country has just been one long battle after another as other people step forward and say, wait a minute, what about this? What about this? What about human rights? What about voting rights? What about labor rights? And so we have pushed the ball forward and forward until the level of fairness continues to increase. And we see that in individual Americans, because they'll say, this isn't fair. And they'll start to say something about it. And then they'll circle a petition because they have the right to do that. And they'll protest in free speech because they have the right to do that. And enough people agree with that. And then we move the ball and we become more fair. And none of that would be possible without the guy who started it and why he is called the father of our country, George Washington. Now, one final thing about these people I talk about. The most unfair thing we did to George Washington is we made him a hero. We named a city after him. We put him on coins. We named a state after him later. And when we do that to our heroes, we then think they're perfect because they're heroes. And then later generations say, well, he's not perfect. And then we throw them down and we call them all kinds of names because we have now disappointed them. We've let them disappoint us. I don't think he ever wanted to be perfect. He was just a guy who saw things that weren't fair and tried to make them fair. And when they rank the presidents in terms of importance, he should be and always should be number one, because without him, we wouldn't have this country. Naming him the father of the country, in my opinion, is only fair. Chapter 1. All right, let's get on to Chapter 2, and let's bring in our guest, our co-host here today. Let's bring in Duane. Duane, a shameless plug for you and for I. By the way, you heard me give the Speech America's story at, it was in Minnesota, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Hills. Yep. Last June, was it Flag Day? Maybe?
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think
we had to bring this enormous light up sign and drive that down the interstate on a shaky rig with a shaky hitch. And it was probably, the most nerve-wracking trip I've made, pulling a billboard down the road at 40 miles an hour in a crosswind, but that's a whole nother story. So shameless plug, that is part of the America's Story presentation that I give. Reach out in the comments or go to the website, ilikethatstory.com. You can see that posted below and find out when and where we are giving that presentation. We are also doing interviews throughout the weeks. We have our live show, and then we do daily drops. They're called 24/7s because they're available 24/7. And my coaching is available 24/7, and because it's less than 3 minutes, which is the maximum, so that's why we call them 24/7s. 247, get it? Okay. And one of the things I'm going to plug, Duane, do you know Rick Melmer?
No, I don't think I do.
You probably will recognize his face. He's a guy who's every state, not every state, but most states have something called leadership. Name of your state: Leadership North Dakota, Leadership Wyoming, Leadership Texas, whatever. And all of them get to kind of run their own deal. Rick started something, and he started it, called Leadership South Dakota. And I could get into more details. We will probably later on. That interview will drop in its entirety on Thursday. It's a great interview. We'll talk about leadership. I thought we'd bring in just an excerpt from Rick here today. And what I don't care about various, leadership, whatever, is that there seems to be a certain level of pride in having the corner office and having the label. And I always say, and I want your comment on this, I would say there is no such thing as good leadership. It's good followership. And I base that on Christian principles. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can say that I'm a leader, but the question would be, talk to the people that you're leading and ask them if you're a leader or not, because that's really the true test is going to be, will they follow? And there's that idea of position power and personal power. And, position power is, I'll do it because he or she is telling me I have to, and I want to keep my job. Personal power is like, I'm doing it because I want to please my boss. Like, my boss asked me to do it, and I'm going to do it because of that. That's my main reason for doing it. And that, to me, it's that personal power that really separates the best leaders from the others. Is, most of us are pretty obedient people. We'll do what the boss tells us to do as long as it's not immoral or impractical. But boy, doing it because you want your boss to be successful, because you think your boss wants you to be successful. That's, like you said, Jeff, that's followership. That's that idea that we're in this together. It's not, you're telling me what to do, but we're working together to try to accomplish something.
That component, okay. Is it always top down?
No. In fact, one of the things that we talked about in Leadership South Dakota, it was actually a lesson that I learned in the program. One of our speakers talked about the idea of you can lead from the front or you can lead from the back. And there's two different ways to lead. And, in our state, are you from South Dakota? Yeah. So Bill Janklow would be an example, former governor, kind of a lead from the front guy. I mean, like, big personality, bull. In fact, I think his statue in Pier, he's got a bullhorn in his hand, and that's sort of that's the picture you have of Bill Janklow's leadership style. And then you have I'll just say Dennis Dugard would be a more current governor, who I think led more from the back, very much a leader in every sense of the word, but would do more of what do we need to do? What does our state need? We need to raise teacher salaries. Then let's create a tax that would help us bump those salaries up. I mean, he led from the back in terms of, I don't need the credit. It's not always going to be my idea. I'm going to try to figure out what our organization, in this case, what our state needs, and then I'm going to help us get there. And so I do think there's two ways to lead. You could lead from the front, and it's my idea, my way, we're doing it. And by the way, those leaders can be successful. It works. Or you could lead from the back, which is like, I'm going to pay attention to what the needs are, and then I'm going to build a coalition of people to go accomplish those objectives. And I tend to be a lead from the back guy. That's sort of what I subscribe to, and I think that's still the best recipe. But some people are built to lead from the front, and and they can do that, and it can happen.
I had coffee with Governor Dugard just the other day. Nice man.
Yeah, well, he's a wonderful man, and really humble. I mean, all the qualities, Jeff, that you would say a really good leader should have.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
A lot of advice, but one of them, when I was in graduate school at the University of Wyoming, one of our professors, who was actually he was the superintendent in Rapid City when a variety of things happened. The Rapid City flood happened. There was an organization called AIM, the American Indian Movement. They had a riot, like a disturbance. He was the superintendent during that time. He was also the superintendent. They had a fire where the high school burned down. And he had, and then by the way, the 6 cheerleaders, the Spirit of 6 award, he was the superintendent when that plane went down. So he had all of these things that happened during his time as superintendent in Rapid City, and he told these captivating stories. But one of the pieces of advice I remember him saying is, people are going to believe the first story they hear. So if you have news to deliver to someone, you need to be the one to tell them, because they're going to believe your story better than they're going to believe anybody else's story. If you wait and let other people tell the story, folks are going to believe their version of it versus your version of it. So he was a big believer in getting out in front of issues and trying to, capture the language versus allowing other people to talk about it, and then you coming in later and trying to clean the slate. I thought it was really good advice, and it's worked for me both on the personal level and on the professional level.
Wow. I told him after that, I said, can you imagine being a superintendent who had the Rapid City flood, fire that burns the high school, the American Indian movement that caused all kinds of ruckus, and 6 cheerleaders that died in a plane crash? Wow. So, Duane, you have worked for bosses. You are your own boss. You've seen bosses in action at all the various contractors and organizations. How many are behind the scenes leaders like Rick was talking about, or bullhorn leaders, or maybe not even good leaders? What percentage of bosses would you guess in your rule of thumb really are not very good at being bosses?
In my industry, or just what I've seen in my life?
What you've seen in life.
It's probably 80% good, 20% not quite so good.
That's not so bad.
And part of that is just the independent spirit. I mean, if, it used to be that if you were blue collar, you were only doing that because you weren't smart enough to get a different job. And now all of a sudden that the world has changed and life has changed and the cost of everything has gone up. You find somebody that's got a lot of skill and got a lot of perseverance, because the building industry, we talked about that a little bit before. You have to be an optimist. Some days you have to be a crazy optimist, because it's going to rain, it's going to snow, it's going to be cold, it's going to be hot, it's going to be muddy, it's going to be too dry. So let's go to work anyway. But the whole, I think, mindset that has kind of changed, and Mike Rowe is a prime example of that, is he's very optimistic about the future, about what we can do to change, what we can do to lead, what we can do to make things better, to show people a different way. And I think that, to me, and he's not a real, flashy out in front, yelling, jumping up and down guy. He's in the mud and the dirt and some of the other undesirable things. I mean, his show was not only very entertaining, but it was very enlightening, I think, to let people see how that actually works.
I'm thinking of Rick Melmer's advice from the one guy said people believe the first story they hear. And I'm just imagining the homeowner pulling into the lot and there's the house and something. Here's what really happened. Before you look at this part of the damage on the house, let me tell you what happened. In fact, just next door, a windstorm came up and knocked about half of the initial studs down. So I imagine it's whoever gets the story in first. It was the wind versus it was, faulty framing. I don't know what the answer is. Okay, anyway, let's go. Let's get to our genius idea. This is chapter 3, genius ideas. Now, every day I come up with another genius idea, and I give them to Booker, and I'm so far ahead of Booker, I don't even know what the genius ideas are. We only do 2 a show, and I'm about 8 weeks out. So, Booker, show me the graphic for the first genius idea, and that should remind me of, oh, yes, okay, this is it. So, I don't know what this is, but anytime you go into a public restroom, I mean, it looks very nice. Many of them are very well maintained, and they have all kinds of good scenery. Why don't they help the people out and pump in about 110 decibels of just brown noise? There's white noise, there's brown, there's just soothing, loud noise that allows people to do what comes naturally in a bathroom without it being an embarrassing explosion of sound. And I won't say any more than that. That's for you in the high-end, restaurant business. When they go into the bathroom, give them something to distract them from what's going on in that restroom. Okay, second one. Second genius idea. Here it is. Okay, yes, perfect. I remember this. This is Oscar, the motorized garbage can. So it's like a Roomba, only your garbage can is on top of it. So in this is what happens. Instead of you having to go out and deliver your garbage to the curb, this is hooked up to the garbage truck sensors. So when it's about a block and a half away, Oscar, the garbage can, just wheels himself out to the position spot and is automatically picked up by the garbage truck. And then when he's done, he wheels himself back next to your house. Now, Duane, you're saying, wait a minute, what if there's snow? Here is Oscar 2.0. Let's show Oscar 2.0. Yes, full track vehicle. Okay. Genius idea. In fact, I think this will happen because not only are these going to be automated, I think garbage trucks themselves will become automated and will just automatically sweep down your street. All weather, don't know what it's going to cost, maybe a little steep for those of you who live out in the rural areas, but for in town, I think this is going to be actually what's going to happen. Now, when I say this, it's important for you to hear. In fact, we're going to rename this whole segment from Genius Idea to Sheep Tank, because unlike Shark Tank, where we're trying to each of us get the better deal, none of that's going on. It's like sheep to the slaughter. I'm wandering into the public, giving you these genius ideas. There's no patent to it. There's no protection. I'm just laying out this this genius billion-dollar idea, and you're free to just steal it out of my clutches and make as much money as you want, because my goal is to help our economy click along. So every single week, I'm presenting 2 ideas for 2 lucky viewers that can help them become millionaires. And my only caveat is somewhere on the signage, thanks Jeff Gould, and maybe a $20,000 check in the mail. Hey, Jeff, thinking of you. Thanks, buddy. From Aruba, from the Caribbean. Appreciate that great idea. Okay? So, Duane, which one of the ideas are you thinking is going to make it? We're going to do a poll from our viewers. Right now, what do you think is going to, do you like?
Do I have to pick one?
Oh, they're both good, aren't they?
Oh, they're both reasonably acceptable, except in my neighborhood where the whole garbage can thing, and you said in town, and you did specify that, because this morning, the snowdrift that was in front of my garage out in the country, it would have had to have been twice as heavy, 3 times as tall, and a lot stronger, because even my 8,000-pound heavy-duty pickup jumped that snowdrift. That snow was that hard. But
okay, what is it with you naysayers? If you have an invention that works 52 or 51 weeks out of 52, you got to bring up the one thing. Well, maybe that particular day your garbage doesn't get picked up. Whatever. Were you going to do it yourself? Were you going to climb over those drifts? No, you were going to stay in your warm, soft bed. You were going to go out that day. All right. What about, so I take it you're by that you're going in with brown noise. Is that your thought?
If that's the fallback, I guess that would be my choice.
You got a week, Duane, to come up with your own genius ideas.
All right, I'll start.
We have a pre-meeting.
I didn't want to take your party away from you.
I didn't hear anything from you in the pre-meeting. All right, let's do that. All right, that's it for Chapter 3. Now, Chapter 4, movies. Now, during the Lent season, I've cut down on my viewing. So I'm going into the Wayback Machine. This is a classic. I think it's from the year 1981. It's an oldie, but it is absolutely fabulous. It's called Being There, starring Peter Sellers.
I'm Chance, the gardener.
The gardener?
Yes. Since I was a child, I worked in this garden.
Then you really are a gardener.
Oh, yes.
May I ask your name?
Chance, the gardener.
Mr. Chancey Gardner. Are you related to Basil and Perdita Gardner?
No, I'm not related to Basil and Perdita.
Gobbledygook.
You know, Chauncey, there's something about you. You don't play games with words to protect yourself.
Had no brains at all. The stuff with rice pudding between the ears.
On television, Mr. President, you look much smaller.
Dumb as a jackass.
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden.
Coffin, I'll need some information on Mr. Chauncey Gardner's background. What do you mean he's got no background? That's impossible.
Listen to that boy.
Mr. Gardner, the New York Times spoke of your peculiar brand of optimism. What was your reaction to that?
I do not know what it means.
Oh, he was very clever, keeping it at a 3rd grade level. That's what they understand.
He's very, very sexy. But I think he's brilliant.
I raised that boy.
It's always somewhat surprising to find men like yourself working so intimately with the president and yet somehow managing to remain relatively unknown. Yes, it is surprising.
And look at him now.
I can't write.
I heard he speaks 8 languages.
I can't read. I like to watch TV.
All you gotta be is white in America to get whatever you want.
I understand.
Being there, made in the USA.
You seen it?
No,
You never
I've
have?
never heard of it before.
Okay. Well, it's obvious. They've laid it out pretty well. This wealthy guy dies, and his gardener, his two people are let go. And one of them is the black woman, the maid. She's let go. And this poor, silly guy who's the gardener, he has nothing, but all of the guy's clothes fit. So he's left out in Washington, D.C., wandering around with impeccably tailored clothes and a really nice briefcase. And he's run into by Shirley MacLaine. I think she's the wife of the president. I don't know, but she's higher up. And then because of that, the simpleton becomes the leader of power in the country. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's a good view. Let me see now, 1981. So that's well over 40 years ago. There's probably a streaming service that you can get it for free. I would be astonished if it would cost you money to watch that. I will give it a couple of thumbs up. Being There with Peter Sellers. That's our movie of the week. Now, we move on to the most dangerous part of the program. We move on to chapter 5, and this is why we know this is dangerous. We know that because Duane is in a separate building all by himself, he can go as long as he wants to on these things. But we've laid out a challenge for him. We have the clock. Show us the clock, Booker. All right. We're going to see if you can answer these questions to the clock. We got our clock up? All right, here we go. Bickett's Bailiwick. To the clock. Give me 60 seconds on cement siding and go.
Cement siding is a product that is made of concrete, wood fiber, and some type of glue. It's very hard. It can be extremely brittle. It is superior for paint holding. It's resistant to hail. The downside is it's heavy. It's hard to put up. It's harder to work with. It also gives off silica dust, which, according to the people in Washington, D.C. with OSHA, that it's dangerous to be around and inhale and work with and all those kind of things. But it's very strong. It's very tough. Hit it with a hammer, you're probably going to break it, but you will everything else. But as far as paint holding ability, it's fire resistant, not fireproof. You live in a higher fire danger. It's going to help with your insurance. Maintenance is going to be easier. It's just heavy and it's a little more expensive.
Okay, so now I'm going to throw in a rebuttal because I saw somebody talk about this. Because it is so hard, if you put it up with a nail gun, it blows the back of it out. Just like when you shoot a window with your gun, the hole is small in front and the whole back gets blown out. And they said to put it up properly, you're supposed to, I think, somehow have a specialized screw gun that kind of screws it in. Talk about that. Have you seen that?
Actually, we've got a siding nailer that's made for that type of siding. It's a thinner shank nail. It's got a little bit bigger head on it, and it penetrates. And the other thing that you want to make sure is air pressure is the key to anything. Siding, shingles especially. If you blow your nails through on a shingle job and your roof blows off, that's not typical. That's not normal. That's poor workmanship. But with that type of siding, if it's put on correctly, you could put it on with screws, but then your labor is going to be even higher than it would be. It's just a matter of using the right equipment, having the people. And they say for that siding, it takes a little bit more skilled applicators than it does with some other siding.
Now we go back to the clock here. 1 minute on windows. And I want you to talk about double hung windows or crankouts. Are double hung windows washed up? Are crankouts still credible? In my house, they don't even work. The windows are just views to the outside. There's no way you can egress my windows. Am I foolish? And let's go.
Double hung windows versus casement windows, and their crank out windows are called casement windows. Double hung windows have been around since windows were first built. Practical, little less expensive than what casement windows are. They don't generally seal as well because there's a lot more moving area of that window than there is with a casement window. If you're going to put it over a patio that's fairly low to the ground, a casement window, somebody's going to hit their head on, whereas a double hung, they won't. The advantage of a casement window is if you got wind that's not coming directly into the house, you can kind of help channel some of those nice spring and summer breezes into your house with a casement window. They generally lock down a little bit tighter, but they're also on the higher end of the window spectrum. The thing we're seeing more and more and more, just to throw a third one in the mix, is slider windows. They've worked a long ways to bring those back to very practical.
Slider is the kind you see in hotels that go like so, right?
Yeah.
Slide back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you see people that just say, I'm just going to wall it off, kind of like I do, just there's no way you can open this window. It's just there.
Sometimes, I guess, depending on the house, and that's the good news, bad news. Everybody wants those large, grand, old farmhouse-looking houses or the plantation house or that kind of thing, and then they go in there and they start counting up how many windows are in that house. That's going to change your mind because it's really going to change your budget. So there, and it's a practicality thing too, is if you have a bank of 5 or 6 windows and one opens, in South Dakota, you're going to get plenty of air through that one window. So maybe,
Yes,
you're doing okay not having absolutely everything operational.
Well, excellent work. Excellent work. I didn't think you had it in you. Duane, well done, sir. Well done. You got to the point. Well done. We can't wait to do our next segment. But now we're done with Bickett's Bailiwick for the week. Now let's get to our video of the week. Have you seen this? This is all over social media. There's something about this video that I'll just let you watch it.
Hi there. Are you Ben?
Yeah, I'm Ben.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Come right this way with me. And then you will just be right in here. Yep, just.
Thanks.
I got a question. Is it PetSmart or PetSmart? Are you saying that pets are smart? Or are you saying you're a mart for pets? I need answers! Which one is it? And it can't be both! I need answers. Which one is it? And it can't be both. Let's take a look at the logo. Smart is blue and pet is red. So it's PetSmart, right? Think again. Take a closer look at the bouncing ball. What do you see? That's an apostrophe, which makes pet possessive, and it's object mark. It's a mark for pets, or is it PetSmart? I need answers! Which one is it? And it can't be both! Is it PetSmart or PetSmart? 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 I need answers! Which one is it?
Come on, Duane.
And we stood there, or we sat here in rapt attention watching the entire thing.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of issues in our nation. We have a lot of issues. Did you notice that PetSmart was with red and blue? I think it's indicative. Is it Pets? Is it PetSmart or PetSmart? It's a great question. And it can't be both. Duane, it can't be both. Have you seen this video before?
I have. And for some reason, I watched the whole thing again. I could have looked at the clock or got a drink of water or scratched my head, but no, it had my full attention.
I find myself walking down the street shouting, "We need answers," and it can't be both. I think they actually had a public demonstration out in LA somewhere in front of the PetSmart. And I don't even know. I tell you what, if PetSmart was smart, they would jump on this kid and his, it would just be their commercials that they run. They've gotten more free publicity out of this than anything else. So, by the way, maybe Booker, we can find this out in the course. Did anybody come up with an answer on this, Booker? Because I know he was trying to get on all the local media. I wonder if they actually got a statement from the PetSmart people. And you can find that out, Booker, and see if you can get us details on that. But that's our humor for today. Remember, is it PetSmart or PetSmart? Remember, it can't be both. Okay.
Can't be both.
To the mailbag. Mailbag. Let's pull it up here. Chapter 7. Oh, he's trying to do both. He's trying to do our research and pull up the graphics. Here we go. Mail delivery. Here is the question. What is your favorite cartoon? Okay, so we had a chance to talk about this. My favorite cartoon, Trudy W., is simple. It is Rocky and Bullwinkle. Let's see if we can get. Yes, that's right. And I think it's the voices. I think especially Boris Badenov. I think he is the reason that I like it more than any other cartoon. Probably also Bullwinkle. Very good, Rocky. Oh, let me see now. What is this Boris Badenov? He says that you look awfully. He's dressed up like a baby, and he said you look awfully old for a baby. And he says I was born very young. Right, so just hilarious. So it's Rocky and Bullwinkle. And your favorite cartoon, Duane, is what?
Has been, always will be, Foghorn Leghorn.
Mel Blanc. I say, son.
And then we got the little chicken always trying to figure the math and the slide ruler. And he shoots down every idea Foghorn ever has.
Remember that one where they play hide and seek? And he says, you count to 10, then he hides, and then the kid does his math and pulls him out of a completely separate playing. It's one of my classics.
Yeah.
All right. So that is our mailbag for today. In the meantime, let's figure out the answer to our trivia question, which was our genius idea. Which genius idea has gotten the most from our listener viewer votes? Booker, what is the answer? Sorry, Duane. Oscar the Robot Garbage Can. Let me explain it right now if you're just joining. This is next to your garage. And when the garbage truck is about 2 blocks away, it sends out a signal. Oscar automatically goes to the end of your driveway. The garbage can gets picked up and emptied, put back on Oscar, and he carefully motors himself back to his original location. There's also one with tracks for severe weather or for gravel roads. Look for it at a garbage can retailer near you. And if you want to make $1 million or $1 billion, there it is. More free stuff for you. Okay. Duane, you get the last comment. If you want to get a last comment in. What were you going to say? What was you saying about the nap? What were you saying about naps?
Oh, somebody asked me one time, they said, do you watch a lot of TV? And I go, well, I do, for about 15 minutes after I get in my super recliner, because I have to get in my pre-bedtime nap, because if I don't get my nap in, I'm going to be way too tired to sleep.
And we'll leave it on that note. I'm Jeff Gould. Thanks very much for joining us today. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next week. God bless.